figured out how to find the maximum average production. And we also figured out how to find the minimum total cost. Wait, not the minimum total cost, but
Minimum total cost is 0.
yeah, that's good.
How to maximize total revenue?
No, we didn't figure out revenue. We just figured. I think it was like we figured out how to find the total cost at the highest average production. I think that was what we figured out, but I'm wrong. Now I forgot.
I think I forgot since Wednesday.
Because I'm looking at this graph and trying to figure out what we learned. Can't remember it.
Yeah, we've got marginal cost and that's not down to.
What do you think, Rachel? Far away thoughts. All right, here's what we're going to do, team. I want to go through this one more time, okay? Walk us all through. This is what's called duality. There's production theory and cost theory, okay? And the concept duality is what makes it possible for us to do what it is that we're doing. We link one to the other, okay? So I'm going to walk us through all that and get us up to the question of, wow, what can I do with this really cool tool I have now at my disposal? And then we're going to begin a discussion of market structure, okay?
Oh, we figured out how to find the minimum average cost.
Of the class, okay? So here's what we began with, okay? Each time we started with this idea that we have an equation of some kind, okay? And so what we had here is this notion here, okay? We wanted to understand how production could be graphed. Okay? And so we had this idea here. And here is a marginal product curve. Okay? A marginal product is an equation. Marginal product of labor is a change in output resulting from a change in labor given, important here, all inputs fixed. Okay? So we have a graph. Now we can draw this graph any old sort of way we wanted to, but the burden on us is to say, why did we draw it the way we did it? And the answer to that is, we're going to make two assumptions. Okay? Assumption number one is specialization of labor. Meaning quite simply that as we get larger and larger number of workers, each worker is going to have different specialized tasks. And so then that the sum of the workers is not going to be simply uniform, it'll be increasing. Okay? So, assumption number two tells me that it's going to be falling. That gives me the shape of this thing. This is a result of something we call the law of diminishing marginal product. Okay? Not exactly a clever title for this law, but it describes what we have here. So now we have this thing. Okay? Now the question then becomes, well, if we have this graph, and it's got the shape that we have here, what are we looking at? And the answer is, we're looking at a table. You remember we started actually with a table. What is that table telling me? It's a picture of technology. Okay? Remember when we first met the supply curve, and I threw technology in as kind of a throwaway, and I said, this is not really good, we need to do something about this? This is what we're doing about it. Okay? So this is a picture of technology. If the graph rose to a higher peak and then dropped fast or dropped slow, or just started and just dropped immediately, all of those are different technologies. It's something like the marginal utility curve, if you want to think of it that way. The shape of the thing is telling us something about our utility for apples. This is telling us something about the technological relationship between inputs and outputs. Okay? You make the shape whatever shape you want to make it, and you're talking about what the technology is that we have at our disposal. Okay? The question now becomes, well, fine, if this is my marginal product, what is total product? Or a little more carefully, what is the production function? The production function is output as a function of physical inputs. Labor, land, capital, entrepreneurship. Okay? Indeed, this thing here, the marginal product, is the first derivative of this thing here. It's the partial derivative because we're taking the change in output that results from a change in labor, all other inputs fixed. These, you'll remember, are fixed. Okay? That is what the definition of a partial derivative is. So that's what we have. So the question might be, what does this thing look like? If this thing is that, then what is this? And what we did is we came down here. Here's Q on this axis, and here's labor here. Whatever we put here drives whatever we put here. These aren't independent of each other in any way, shape, or form. You remember that this thing came from a table. That table had a column called Q. There's the Q from that table. So what we did is we said that this is increasing at an increasing rate. These numbers get bigger as we go. So this is going to look something like this. Okay? Now it's increasing at a decreasing rate. So it looks something like that. And this is our total product curve or our production function. Because this is what this is what this is. We're also interested in average product. What's the average product? Well, the definition of average product is just output per worker. If I got 50 workers and I produce 50 things, then my output per worker on average is 1. So that's what we're looking at, is the average product curve. Now, the question is, if I know the shape of this guy here, how can I get the average product? Well, we can do it mathematically, of course, but there's a clever way of playing with the graphs to get me an average product curve. And that is to take a ray from the origin. There's, of course, an infinite number of rays from the origin. Of interest to us is this particular one. Okay? This tangent here. Now, all the other ones are selected something like this. As they go this way, because the slope of this ray is the average product, that slope actually is the number that goes on this axis. When we get to here, this point is the highest this ray from the origin can go. It can't get any steeper. Therefore, that must be the highest average product. We also know that because it's a tangency and the marginal is a tangency, that must be the maximum of average product. That is production theory, right there. All of that constitutes production theory. Our interest, however, is in the behavior of a firm. And we're going to assume that firms are going to maximize something called profit. And profit, of course, is measured in dollars. The units of measurement of the production theory is not dollars. There's no dollars anywhere in there. The units of measurement is physical inputs, number of units of worker, and units of output. That's the units of measurement that are there. Profit is measured in dollars. Total revenue minus total opportunity cost. That is our definition of profit. Units of measurement are dollars. So somehow I'm going to have to convert this relationship between physical inputs and physical outputs into the world of dollars. And the reason, of course, is because one day I'm going to have to get a price in here and figure this out. And so I take a look and I see that I have two sets of inputs. One set of inputs are fixed inputs. They're the price I pay for my landlord for my rent here. Okay? And he doesn't care whether I produce, well, he sort of cares. He doesn't really care whether I produce 1 or 100,000. You might be a little anxious if I'm only making one of them because maybe I'm not going to be able to get the rent. But it doesn't matter in terms of my rent, how my rent's paid. So these fixed inputs have something called fixed cost. So I'm going to break up total cost into total fixed cost and total variable cost. Okay? Fixed costs are payments for fixed inputs. The variable cost is the interesting one. my labor. I'm going to hire people. And as I hire more people, two things happen. One, I produce more stuff. And two, my costs go up. The new workers want to get paid, oddly enough. And so what I have here then is my variable input. And I need to know something about the market for that. So what we did is we took a look at the labor market. And here's the wage here. And here's the number of workers that I hire. Is there a relationship between how many workers I hire, not the employment rate or something like that, broadly speaking, at a macro level, but me, my little firm, is there a relationship between the number of workers I hire and their wage rate? And our conclusion is no.